Now, across Texas, the issue is.
I'm Stephen Dial in Dallas.
I'm Greg Grugan in Houston.
I'm Rudy Koski in Austin, and this is Texas, the issue is.
North Texas State Representative Jared Patterson took to Twitter this week saying that there are political organizations that are calling him and other House members not conservative enough. The Republican infighting continues to go, so we went one-on-one with Jared Patterson.
I'll ride with that team that's securing the border, that's cutting property taxes, that's saving children from these woke drag shows and pornography in our schools. I'll ride with a team that's doing that and accomplishing that over the grifters that are just out to make money.
I don't think your Democratic colleagues would say you're not conservative, you and some others. Do you think this just stems from the Ken Paxton impeachment and just snowballed into more?
Well, I mean, certainly they're more energized this cycle than being, the folks that make money off of these primary races. But, there's a lot of money involved in politics, and there's a lot of these consultants and these fake groups, these C4s that are set up to look like conservative groups. But when you look at the facts at what Speaker Phelan has put together with those of us in the Texas House, the Republicans in the Texas House took abortions in Texas from 50,000 in 2019 to 34 last year. Not 34,000, 34. We passed constitutional carry. We secured our elections. We passed the strongest border security bill in the country, where law enforcement can now collect and deport illegal immigrants from across the state, along with $6.6 billion in funding for border security. These are massive conservative wins, and we haven't even gotten to all the things that we did this session to protect children from the woke agenda. And so massive, massive conservative wins, and that's bad for business if your business is convincing people that the Texas House is not conservative.
Some Republicans are taking big aim at Speaker Dade Phelan, primarily the Attorney General, after he was acquitted in his impeachment trial. Are you nervous you're defending Speaker Dade Phelan. Are you nervous to do that?
Largest property tax cut in American history. We passed this session under Speaker Phelan's leadership, and every Republican in the Texas House voted for it. Again, the largest property tax cut in history. And so these are massive wins. These are record-setting legacy conservative wins that we've got in the Texas House.
Governor Greg Abbott is backing primary challengers to multiple Republicans who did not support school vouchers. Do you agree with that strategy?
I think that next session we'll have a better chance at passing a parental choice and education bill. I think that this session, it was very difficult. Number one, we didn't have the votes, but number two, it was just, we tried to get it across the finish line. We tried to come up with various different pathways to get us there. And I think that there was just so much misinformation put out by the teacher unions that it just wasn't going to happen this year. I think we have more time to work on this issue, more facts to get out there about the bill that we had in the Texas House, which would have been the largest funding increase in the history of the state to our public schools, in addition to parental choice. I think the more we have time to kind of marinate on those issues and understand those issues and how they affect our communities, I think we'll have a better chance at doing it. And that's going to happen, I believe, next session.
Do you think Speaker Dade Phelan will be the speaker again in 2025?
Without a doubt. That's the least of our concerns. I think that Speaker Phelan has proven himself, passing constitutional carry, ending abortion, ending these woke drag shows, and saving women's sports, making sure that men don't compete against our women in female sports from 7th grade through college. From conservative issue on conservative issue, no state in the country has had the massive conservative wins that we've had in the Texas House since he took over. And so I would fully expect him to have his third term as Speaker next session.
I think Speaker Dade Phelan could probably put some of that sound in a campaign ad. Rudy Koski, what's your one word?
Yeah, he could, couldn't he? My word, Barnum.
Greg Grugan.
Stephen, my word is combat, the political kind.
The Fox Texas Trio is back. Rudy Koski, we all have been reporting there's big targets on some Republicans' backs during the primary. Is conservative just not conservative enough in 2024?
You know, Stephen, it's all about how it's sold, which is why my word was Barnum, as in P.T. Barnum, who is associated with that old saying, there's a sucker born every minute. You know, Representative Patterson is right. A lot of political action committees can be loose with the facts and hard with the spin. You know, it's a strategy that's pretty old. One of my favorite slogans from history, from one of the dirtiest campaigns in American history, the 1884 chant against Grover Cleveland. And yeah, I'm going to pull that one up. Ma, ma, where's my pa? Gone to the White House? Ha, ha, ha. You know, that one stuck pretty well. Had a little truth to it, too. My point is, if it's catchy, voters tend to remember the spin and not the real issue. That's why old school conservatives just can't ignore being called a rhino, especially right now, especially by those who want voters to disregard accusations about Ken Paxton's adultery and helping a donor who's charged with bank fraud. And let's not forget those who are selling a multi-million-dollar private school scholarship fund and marking it as school choice. P.T. Barnum would be proud.
Man, Rudy Koski went back in the history books. Greg Grugan, there's targets on backs, but the biggest target, definitely Speaker Dade Phelan from Attorney General Ken Paxton, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. Jared Patterson says he's not afraid to back him. Will Phelan survive this?
Yeah, I think odds are very good he will, both in his district and in the next House Speaker vote. Phelan's popular on his home turf, owns a solid record of conservative accomplishments to brag about, and has a hefty war chest to boot. And really, what sense does it make if you are a District 21 Republican voter to replace the most powerful guy in the Texas House with a freshman with zero stroke? Of course, that's conventional wisdom applied to an unconventional, genuinely septic political atmosphere in which every position taken is a loyalty test. And those who do not fully adopt the most radically right-wing positions are subject to excommunication. Now, as for the speakership, Phelan needs to retain just a dozen Republican allies to join with Democrats, and the gavel is once again his. A fair guess is that he can count on the allegiance of at least 40 or more GOP House members, and that makes Ken Paxton and Dan Patrick's bid to oust him a very, very long shot.
Greg, millennials would say Phelan still has some juice. Rudy Koski, do you agree?
You know, this past Monday, Paxton was in the Speaker's home district. His revenge tour didn't, you know, attract a big crowd, but he continues to swing away and portray himself as an innocent victim. Granted, the Speaker is also pushing back at a recent campaign stop. He defended his decision to hold the impeachment hearings and vote, saying, I'm not going to turn my back on corruption. I'm not going to turn my back on malfeasance. You know, it's going to be interesting to see how voters respond. Barnum or stance?
Governor Greg Abbott is backing multiple primary challengers. Are we overhyping this, that there is in-party fighting, or is this a real thing?
Look, it's a big-time problem for Republicans with a target on their back, those who bucked the governor's mandate and joined Democrats in voting against school choice. Like we've said, Abbott needs to flip 6 or 7 House votes to prevail on his signature issue. And the greenback is not as holdback as we saw this week in that $6 million donation from the Pennsylvania voucher supporter. Agree with him or not, the governor is a man with a singular mission in this primary, and he's arming his chosen candidates with cash and campaign know-how that will prove difficult to overcome. Bottom line, somebody is ultimately going to die on the hill of school choice in Texas. And despite his setbacks, Greg Abbott is bound and determined that it's not going to be him.
Rudy, quickly, is this being overhyped by the media, or is there real Republican infighting that could fracture things?
Stephen, I'll put it this way. I haven't seen such party cannibalism like this since the last Tarzan movie I watched.
All right. Well, we'll have to leave it there. That's all the time we have. To see this episode or any of our past ones, go to our station YouTube channels.
And visit our social media sites to continue the conversation.
And we'll see you next week for another edition of Texas, the Issue Is.